Hello, Steve White, Steve White's 89. Well, we've got new images of the Batmobile. It's just a short video. It's not a lot to talk about. Basically, they were released on Twitter by the director. I'm a bit disappointed. It looked better in the images we saw a few months ago, the smaller images, where I guess it was a bit more mysterious. I mean, the front view, it's it looks really boxy, and it almost looks like it was like just built in a garage, like in someone's backyard. It doesn't look. It just it looks very makeshift. It's got a raised section over like the motor, but it's got some it's got a couple of little orange lights, and from the front it kind of looks like Kit. It's got like a strip of red lights right. I can't believe they did it. It's right in the same area that Kit had the flowing red lights that would go backwards and forwards when he talked and that. And they've got a series of lights right in the same section. I'm like, why would you do that? You're going to get comparisons, and that served a purpose. I don't see what the point of He's supposed to be the Dark Knight. Is supposed to be mysterious. He's supposed to be fighting crime. As a vigilante, like hiding from escaping from the police, and he's got big lights all over his car, like to make it visible from anywhere. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Now it looks good at the back, and it kind of reminds you a little bit of the '60s Batmobile, and a little bit of the Batman Begins sort of tank. But yeah, it almost looks Batmobile from the back, almost, but it just looks like a black car with far too many lights, which don't seem to really serve any purpose. And there's a couple of sections at the front which kind of try to make the lights, headlights, look a little bit like eyes. Because the older cars, there were different Batmobiles. Some of them were very much just contemporary cars that were modified and had some element that made them, Batman's Batmobile. Like they had like eyes that sort of were like, I don't want to say bat-like, but sort of kind of. And they also had like an element that made it look like a face, or they had wings, or they had fins. There were elements, and there's nothing about this that really says Batmobile. There's nothing about it. Like I think Mecca was pointing out, there's the Batmobile had curves, it had fins, it was sexy. There was something about it that was sleek. This is just a sort of, it looks very Mad Max, and that was the other thing she said. I agree, very Mad Max, like someone just built it. And I get that Batman is a vigilante who has custom made everything, but this looks like he did it himself on the weekend. Uh, I'm just not impressed. I'm very disappointed. Now I know it may look different in the film with the proper lighting, but I don't know how much better you can make it look, because it's just not a great design, I don't think. And with Batman, there is some talk that Batfleck might be coming back, because there's talk that he's been brought in, or some of the original actors from Justice League are being brought in to do elements to finish off the Snyder Cut. So there's contracts and things involved there. So there's talk that he's talking to the studios again, and apparently the reason why he walked, he had an idea for a Batman film, and it just didn't go with the direction they wanted to go in, and rather than step away from it or change it, he just sort of bowed out, because he sort of was, I think, writing, directing, star. It was like it was his film, his Batman film. So there's talk that they may be bringing him back, just like they may be bringing back Henry Cavill to play, because they want to work with the established DC universe and rework it rather than reboot it and start all again, because the time and effort and money to recast and advertise and re-establish it all, I just don't. I think they're just trying to work with what they've already got, because a lot of people, I think, felt the direction when they started off with was working. So that'll be interesting. So there may be two Batman. Definitely going to be two Batmans at the same time, because this is going to come out. The Snyder cut's going to come out about the same time as this film, I think. Or it'll already be out when it comes out, so you might have two conflicting Batmans. So there's talk about that as well. It's interesting. I'm disappointed. I was hoping for a very sexy Batmobile. the 60s Batmobile is always going to be interesting, but it's always going to kind of look like a 60s sci-fi sort of car. It had that element to it, whereas the comic Batmobiles were a bit more sleeker, and of course the movie one just was phenomenal. And the later ones were interesting. They were a bit too the car has to have functionality. It can't just be a giant piece of set dressing that lumbers around because its own design elements get in the way. Giant fins, which of course would stop it from going through small spaces, stuff like that. You've got to be practical, and this is very practical, but it's not very Batmobile. So disappointed. Wondering if they can save it with lighting, or maybe if we're lucky, this is like a temporary Batmobile just when he's getting started. Then later on, he invests some time and money into actually developing a better Batmobile. So we'll see. I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to rattle on too long. Still looking forward to the Snyder Cut. It's very interesting to hear also pretty much all Batfleck's scenes that were filmed for the Justice League that we actually saw were all done later, and he gained weight. He was out of shape, and he already knew that he was out of the other film, that it wasn't happening. So it's interesting. People are saying that his performance in the other film and his physicality are so much different. It will be like another Batman. So that makes me interested in seeing it alone, because I didn't really like Fat Man, which is sort of what he was in that film. He just seemed angry and fat and beaten down or something. It just didn't work. That Batfleck didn't really work for me, and I think it was probably more the film than necessarily his performance. But it'll be interesting to see a different version of that as well. So I guess I'm covering all the tiny little Batman news that didn't really merit their own video. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, let me know what you think of the Batmobile if you like it. Yep, thanks, bye.